under a thick, gloomy sky with snowflakes wafting down from the low-hanging clouds. She wanted to get airborne again, fly across the Atlantic and be back home in Volan, where she could wallow alone in self-pity. Facing her father was going to be brutal, but the sooner she got it over with, the better. She set aside the speech, closing her eyes against the heavy headache that was forming in the base of her neck. "I think I'd like to lie down for a while," she told Darren. His reaction was immediate. "Shall I have Mia turn down the bed?" "No, thank you. I'll manage." Jasmine came to her feet, smoothing her skirt and checking her hair, still striving for confidence as she started down the wide aisle between the white leather seats and the matching sofa. Since it was 8 hours across the Atlantic, they'd flown in the royal family's largest jet. It offered a private bedroom and a very comfortable bed. She needed some time alone. Some sleep would be even better. She didn't have the slightest idea how she was going to explain her failure to her father. The king of Volan had been raised to be stoic, not patient, and he was obviously baffled by her phobia. The people of Volan overwhelmingly supported the royal family. When she was speaking to them, she was speaking to friends. There was no reason in the world for her to be frightened. But she was. She was terrified at the thought of opening her mouth on a stage. So far, she and her father had been able to hide the fact she couldn't speak in public. But that time was coming to an end. She was heir to the throne, and she turned 25 next month. On her birthday, she'd be given the title of Princess Royal. With it came a lengthy inaugural speech, where she'd lay out the principles and plans as Princess Royal, and that of her eventual reign as queen. It would be followed by a host of public speaking requirements for all the months and years to come. This trip to New York was her dry run. At a private diplomatic function out of the limelight, away from her own people, she'd had a chance to prove her mettle. Truth was, she'd had many chances to prove it in the past, and this was to have been the final effort. She moved from the main cabin to a narrowed passage that led to the bedroom. There, a gust of cool, fresh air crossed over her face. She paused to inhale, letting the freshness clear her head. The rear cabin door was opened. Through it, she could see past the tarmac to a cluster of evergreens dappled with snow. It looked like a fairy tale Christmas forest. Crisp, clean, and simple. A narrow metal staircase led down to the runway. From there, she could walk to the woods, disappear into them for just a little while. She wished it was possible. But it was freezing outside. The wind and snow were picking up, and she definitely wasn't dressed for a winter stroll. She gave up on the fantasy, focusing on the bedroom instead. But then she caught sight of a cupboard, its door slightly ajar. A closer look revealed a navy blue work jacket and a pair of lined rubber boots. She made up her mind. Fresh air might clear her headache, and a brisk walk would help her sleep. And there was nobody out there in that Christmas tree forest to pity or judge her. She needed that right now. She needed it badly. She shrugged into the jacket, popped up the hood, and stepped into the boots. The corrugated metal stairway felt rickety beneath her feet. It was narrower than the one that led to the front cabin door, and a wind was gusting against it, making it rattle and sway. But she held onto the rails and easily made it to the bottom, stepping onto solid ground. She felt like she could breathe for the first time in a week. The boots were big and clunky, but the jacket was warm, the sleeves coming down to cover her hands. The snowflakes were big, tapping against her face and melting on her cheeks and nose. Her knees were bare and felt the cold. But she wasn't going to let that stop her. It wasn't very far to the edge of the woods. As she walked, the speech played through her mind, and she began reciting it out loud. There were few planes on the tarmac, none of them running. Only a couple of trucks and a few members of the